Hiya. Okay, today I want to talk about why doing the inner work, why get on that journey, why prioritize that, and just to offer everybody a little bit of some reasons why you might prioritize your well-being over everything else. Instead of thinking, I need to get rich and then I'll feel better. I need to get the best partner and then I'll feel better. I need to get more friends and be more popular, then I'll feel better. Do you know what I mean? So actually, rather than getting things to feel better, just go directly to I'm going to feel better. Go directly to that. I'm going to say something now that might or might not be controversial. It depends on who you are and what your experiences are so far in life. But I'd argue that there is pretty much nothing in life that can't be dealt with by going in and doing the work. There's no problem that can present itself that you can't transcend. I often say, we don't fix problems, we transcend them. And I want to give some examples and what I mean by it. I've already touched on perspective, so this kind of goes deeper into that as well. So first of all, I'm going to go a little bit into, let's keep it current. I know this video is going to go on YouTube and it might still be there in 5-10 years, and this might be less relevant, but there might be something else that it relates to and people can still relate. So let's talk about the coronavirus. Very, very current. It's happening now, and people say, well, okay, all this is happening in the world, people are dying and there's the lockdown and the economy is crashing, and how can that be transcended by me meditating or me doing breath work or whatever, me doing yoga? Like, how can it? And it seems that on the surface like a really valid question. But what I want to put forward to you is that your perspective, your own perspective, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, your experience of the world is your perspective of the world. It's the same thing, right? And that, in this life, is all you are ever going to know. It's all you are ever going to know. You can't have someone else's perspective. You can think about their perspective and you can include it in yours and go, okay, I realize they have this perspective, but still you're only getting the slice of their perspective that they're offering or that you're observing or able to observe through your own perspective, right? Because everything is going through your perspective, right? Everything's going through the filter of you. That's all you're ever going to know, is the way you experience the world. So let's go into talking about like the coronavirus. It's not the coronavirus that we're scared of, right? It's, all this hysteria. People they're not scared of coronavirus. They're not scared of not having any money. The real fear is death, dying, losing somebody to it, losing someone else who might die from it, homelessness, being on the streets, which the real fear then is, the self-respect and death. And start to look at what the real fear is, not the surface fear. When I say doing inner work, it is meditating and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's also exploring the field, the area of concern. So in terms of like what I'm talking about now, the fear of coronavirus and death, is if you have a fear of death, let's look at how deeply have you explored the concept, and what do you know to be true about it, or what do you believe to be true about it, more accurately, because we can't know anything, right? What do you believe to be true about it? What have you done to alleviate that fear to the point where that then doesn't become your main concern? What if you couldn't take the fear of death out of the driver's seat because you have a belief that, oh, actually when you die, maybe that's actually a good thing. It's not, it's not a bad thing. I'm going to talk I'm going to give you my perspective on that, just so you've got. And you know, some people might watch this and go, "Well, you're just deluding yourself." Who cares? Who cares what it is, right? As long as the vibration is going up, it doesn't matter what you choose to believe, as long as it keeps you in a state of well-being, so that you can spread the vibration of well-being with other people and alleviate their fears, right? I have beliefs around the death experience based on lots of things, based on having, you know, very, very severe asthma attacks as a kid, and what felt like dipping in and out of the death experience. I can remember that really vividly, what happened when I, you know, no longer had to breathe, and where I was and what that looked like and felt like. And I've read a lot on the fascinating topic of reincarnation. Kids that can remember the past lives so vividly that they can take their family back to the old family who they said used to be their family and name everybody on the spot. You know, we're talking like 2-3-year-old kids can name, oh, that's so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. They say, I used to live there, that's blah, 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 blah. This is how I died. So this was me finding this area of exploration. And even though that's not inner work as in going inwards, what it actually is me using life to do inner work, to change the thoughts and beliefs that are going on under the bonnet, you know. So it is inner work. It's me giving myself permission to let go of a fear, right? We're always looking for permission. Oh, that's something I'll cover in a later topic, in a later video. In fact, I'll just scribble that down because it is a big one, very big. So we're just looking for permission. So inner work, giving yourself permission to be happy based on whatever. So that was another one for me. There's a book called Children Who Have Lived Before by Trutz Hardo, if anyone's interested. Trutz Hardo, Trutzhardo. There is a man who devoted his life to studying the biology of reincarnation called Ian Stevenson, and I believe the Stevenson is with a V rather than a PH. Ian Stevenson, and he explores, you know, like how birthmarks, when a kid remembers a past life, then the kid always has birthmarks on the wound that the post-mortem photographs will show how the person died, and they'll have a birthmark in the same place. The person who died, who they remember being, had a wound, had the wound of how they died, right? This video's not about that, but having these really kind of powerful and repeatable, documents and explorations and researches done by people where it's, you know, this is not rare, but you don't know this until you look into it. I obviously on some level had a fear of death. That was, you know, when I was a kid, I remember laying in bed with insomnia kind of a young age, like probably at 8. And I used to get this thing, like these vivid images of people I love dying, and like the look of terror on the face that they might have in the moment that just before they died. And this thing used to haunt me a lot, so I guess that might have been a trigger for me looking into this stuff and exploring it. So that's another one, just looking at reincarnation. And then the Dolores Cannon, and hypnotherapy. I've regressed somebody to a past life as well, and they've brought back very interesting data that I can't imagine they could have made up. And it was too abstract, I guess, in a lot of ways, for me to believe that it was made up. And even if all this is not true, you know, even if all these kids are just fantasizing there's some crazy, somehow miraculous, you know, coincidence that they guessed the details right, or that somehow these stories have made it out and they were never true, I've explored enough of them that in my physiology and the very depths of my consciousness now, I'm like, that's true. I don't have to question it anymore, which then alleviates the whole perspective around death. So doing this inner work has made the death experience, it's completely reframed it for me. So where did I go with that? So there's, reading about it, my own experiences in that kind of realm, entheogens, you know, exploring entheogens, which are psychedelics, ayahuasca, DMT, the toad medicine, 5-MeO DMT, that is. And there's plenty of others, you know, magic mushrooms, psilocybin they call it, and they show you things that I can't describe it. I'm not going to attempt to. But again, that has been another extremely deep and profound experience that I can't unknow. Every cell in my body was reprogrammed with that experience of meeting spirit guides and angels and them operating on my body in such a way that my body went into self-healing mode from that point onwards. You know, this stuff's real. There's a very real and visceral's not the word, but physical and observable and measurable result, outcome of this thing that happened. Now, whether the light beings I saw were a figment of my imagination and everything is irrelevant, but to me it was the most real thing I've ever experienced. It's more real than this. So that is enough for me to have that belief that now it reframes death. So doing inner work has removed my fear of death. When somebody dies, I see it as a transition, and I know there's many other people that see it that way as well. So that's one thing. Why it might be worth doing it when you lose a loved one. Yes, grieve. Of course, it needs to happen. You cry. You might go through the grieving process, the 5-step grieving process, which I don't know off the top of my head. I've not looked into it deeply enough, but I know Emma does. She's studying it and might share, if you reach out as well, might share her learnings on that. But it's completely altered my relationship to death, and a lot of people will say that all fear is actually at its core a fear of death. For example, if you're scared of being publicly shamed, that goes right back to when we were in tribes, and if we were shamed in front of the tribe, they would reject us and we'd be alone. And back then in the wilderness, that meant certain death, pretty much, because you're alone and you've got nobody to watch you back and help you hunt and look after you, and you know. So a reason to do the inner work, if you think of your worst fears, a lot of them are generally around losing somebody, a loved one, a child, a partner, a parent, something like that. But when you shift your relationship to it and you see these, so my perspective around this now is we're all just souls, light beings, inhabiting these bodies temporarily, and that every single thing that happens between us, every word uttered between us, every transaction, everything, every experience, the people who hurt us the most are our closest soulmates, and the people who we love the most are our closest soulmates, right? And that we're dipping in and out of each other's lives, life after lifetime. Sometimes we might be worst enemies and really badly hurt each other. In the next life we might be lovers. And what we're doing is gifting each other this gift of duality. You can only feel this happy if you can feel this sad. So if somebody hurts you this badly, that's your soulmate gifting you the gift of being able to be this happy in another life. Whether you believe that is irrelevant. It's relevant to me, and whether it's true is also irrelevant to me, because I believe it enough that it completely reframes my whole experience of life. And it came from doing the inner work. You might find your own avenue, like your avenue of doing inner work might be, there's nothing, so there's nothing to worry about. Once I'm gone, and that's it, and there's absolutely nothing to worry about. So yeah, that's kind of one way of looking at it. And the other thing I just touched on there is, if somebody really hurts me badly and something catastrophic happens, I've had the experience, very real experience of seeing that the what we call the tyrants of the world are the souls that are doing the hardest work, because they're having to make themselves into this very dense, dark energy. And actually, that's harder. Us who are trying to do all the good stuff and really love and light and everything are coming from a place of, well, that's what we are anyway innately, so we're not having to do much. We might go through a stage of suffering, but we get to remain in that beautiful vibration of love as our life work. Whereas imagine having to incarnate and be the person who's evil. They're the one who's struggling, who's suffering, because all evil, if you want to call it, and that is a real thing, it comes from a place of very deep suffering and pain. So kind of they're the victims of it, and it just gets projected outwards. And the way I see it again is it's all agreed. We've asked them to do that for life, to experience life, and there's no such thing as death really. Everything's just a continuum, and again, this might alienate some people, but at the same time it's irrelevant. It makes life better. It allows me to show up as my most loving, high vibrational self for the good of the most people and myself, you know. Imagine if everybody had this same sort of vibration, there'd be less resistance. Imagine then if all the so-called tyrants, if we could actually find it within us to love those and say, oh my God, that person's in pain. If you could see straight through the ego and look at, x-ray through that person, see all the traumas and everything, you would look and you'd be like, oh my God, look how much that person's suffering. And you might look at a kid in the third world who's starving their whole life, and they might have 5% the trauma that these dictators have, right? I know this is all like wild perspectives, but they might have way less trauma because all they're worrying about is survival. The other person has got so much really heavy, storms of darkness going on in the mind, and massive amounts of inner conflict. And you look at people in the Western world that end their own life, and then you look at the people in the third world countries, and they're fighting to stay alive. To offer you a perspective on that, it's like, who's suffering the most? The person who's desperately trying to stay alive, or the one who's choosing to end it? They might seem like they have more because they're in the Western world, but the problems that can come with that can be absolute torture. Again, just offering perspectives. I'm not asking you to have the same beliefs as me. What I am doing is explaining how we can reframe things and look at things in such a way that it changes our experience of the world to a more positive one. So imagine if we could look at these dictators who everybody hates and see the trauma and be like, oh, they need love. That is all they need. All traumas need love. And then if the whole world united to love that person would have no choice other than to heal. That's what love does. It heals everything it touches. It's all that person ever needed. As a child, that's all they ever needed. And it's the wounded inner child, the programs that are still trying to get love, whether it's power and greed and money and dominance over others. It's all because they believe, due to their upbringing and their programming, that is what needs to happen to be accepted and to be loved. That's their whole upbringing and their surroundings, their programs are telling them that. Now when they realize that they get the love not by doing that, then the program becomes redundant and then it can leave. So imagine that reality where we can see the traumas in people, and there is a way to see traumas in people. When you do the inner work and you see your own traumas for what they are, and you really notice how your posture changes, how your voice changes, how your personality changes, and then how everybody around you treats you completely differently. And as you witness all this, you then see it in everybody else. Like, oh my God, I can see that you're carrying guilt. I can see that you're carrying shame. You have all the hallmarks of somebody who has had a childhood trauma in a specific area, and I can see it. It's, it comes out. You can sort of see through the coping mechanisms because you've done the work and gone through your own. And generally, if you're doing that, you're going to spend, certainly in the Western world as well, you're going to spend time around other people that have also gone through this, and they're sharing their story with you, and you see the commonalities, how all these people carrying the same traumas, who let them go, all realize the same things. Oh my God, it was a gift. The amount of times I've heard that, oh my God, it was a gift all along. Thank you. People, on the knees saying thank you for the person who abused them when they were younger or hurt them, And because they realised that it was something that they get to purge and go through and then become a healer and serve humanity for the highest good. And they realised that they couldn't have done it without that childhood experience. And then the whole relationship changes into not even just one of forgiveness, but they go through forgiveness, then they go for acceptance, and then they go through then they go to gratitude. Thank you for doing that, Like this huge shift can take place. And again, you might look and think, well, if someone's done something so evil, do they deserve to be forgiven? Does the person who was victimized deserve to carry that pain around with them for the rest of their life? Or you know, as a you know, a payoff for going through the suffering, what if they get to carry around this beautiful vibration of love and gratitude, and then be of service to many other people and help other people shift their vibration from pain and suffering to love and gratitude and acceptance and forgiveness as well? This is, I know it's a deep and difficult concept for a lot of people to get their head around. That's why I'm sharing this stuff. There are people who are struggling with you know, perspectives and being stuck and wondering why do the inner work, like the problem's not there, the problem's out there. I want to offer this and say and challenge those perspectives in a way that that you can go, oh right, I get it. So it's not always about changing what's out there. I change how I see, you know, just saying, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So true on so many levels. So we go in, we do the work, we release the trauma, we find the gifts. On like a psychological level, they say that every time you revisit a memory, it's tainted by the energy and the vibration or the mood or whatever that you're in when you revisit the memory, when you recall the memory. So that memory gets changed a little bit every time you experience it. So when you're in a really, really high vibrational and beautiful state of being and you feel energized and there's so much love, and then in that state you revisit the trauma, what happens is that's when it flips and it transmutes and you see the gift. Because you can see it because you're coming at it from love, not from fear, a higher dimension. And then that is then transmuted forever because the memory gets changed every time you revisit it, right? What else is a thing? Let's talk about maybe money. Let's say you think, well, I need money. And don't get me wrong, I realise the world is very dependent on money. But I want to offer this as well. What if you say you spend all your life really devoting yourself to money, sacrificing your time and with your family and your connection to others in favour of creating money, success, and then well, I'll do that later, I'll buy my family things, I'll make my family happy when I have this money. And you save it and you bank it and you have this wealth and you feel so proud of yourself and you're doing good. And then before you know it, you know, you accidentally hurt somebody and they sue you and take the lot. And all you've got then is a family who feel alienated because you've not connected properly with them. So much resentment and anger and frustration around it. Years of working in vain almost. I mean, we'll revisit this again, that nothing's ever in vain because you take from it what you choose to take from it. But this perspective that it can be taken from you, the money can be taken from you. Now, if you to prior, I'm not saying don't seek it. Yeah, by all means seek it if that's what you want to do. But I want to just offer that if you put your well-being and your mental health and your ability to connect and love deeply and to help other people see the love that they are, to look into someone's eyes and see the soul underneath, to see beyond all the programs and their, you know, when they're acting out and hurting people and you're the only one who can see through that and see them, the pain inside, and you connect with them on that level and make that person, you know, open up and help, it really helps them, right? If you focus all your energy on that and on becoming the most complete, fulfilled, loving, lovable version of yourself, that is something that's not going to be taken away. Now, even like if money has been your pursuit, I'd always say the best way to spend money is on that. That it's on increasing your ability to express yourself in a loving way, you know, to express your soul's desires, to support and care for others emotionally, and to be there and to be able to offer, you know, wisdom and real usable advice, as well as, you know, being a space for somebody to unload without it impacting and hurting you, until they're ready to be embraced and loved and held. When all the world's economy breaks down, where, you know, what's going to be the currency? Where's the value? Like, imagine right now in all as this coronavirus moves around the world, and all the economies start to plummet and fall down, and let's say 99% of the world all end up in the same boat, flat broke, can't pay bills, and then all the companies are like, well, we're not getting paid, so there's no point asking for it because nobody's got it, and then they've got no staff, so they're closed anyway, and blah blah blah. Like, what happens then to all the hard work that you did, you know, to earn money, when you could have been, you know, learning how to have the most potent and powerful immune system, to have the perspective that allows you to not be in fear in these times, and to be in the vibration of love for the greater good. Again, it's just like shifting your energy around it. This is why we do the inner work, so that there's nothing, when you go deep in this, there is nothing that life can throw at you that can't be used for the greater good, and to deeply connect with your soul, you know, your heart, your what's true to you, you know, that divinity within you. Other reasons, day-to-day life, you know, instead of being like this all the time, mood-wise. I think it was Joe Dispenza who says, you know, your mood becomes a temperament, and then your temperament over time becomes your personality, you know. And it's like, if you have more down moods than up, or you're constantly like this, and you become unpredictable, and then your temperament is, you're temperamental, and you're like, oh, I don't know where, and nobody knows what version of you they're going to get next time they see you, and then that becomes your whole personality, which affects all your relationships, your ability, and your to you know, get by in life, your opportunities that come your way. You know, if people can't relate to you, and they don't trust you because they don't know what they're going to get, and you're volatile, like, it's going to be difficult to find a nice, easy flow through life. Whereas when you've done this in a way, you're way more stable. You know, when something throws, you're like that in the eye of the storm all the time. You can watch all this craziness just fly around, and you can remain centered and grounded, and feel safe and loved and held in the middle of it all. And another thing that can come from doing the really deep stuff, again, like meditation and the entheogens and breathwork, these transcendental experiences where you start to realize there is a higher power, there's something intelligent, whether that's your unconscious mind, whether that's the universe, whether that's energy, whether that's, you know, the heart, or God, or angels, or guides, or whatever it is that you look at, that you relate to. It doesn't matter, again, if it's true. Choose what it is that makes you feel safe, because then once you have that dealt with, I feel safe, my spirit guide will look after me, all right, I feel safe enough, I won't worry about that. Then I will now go off, and instead of trying to survive, I'll go out there and thrive. I'll go out there and come from a place of love instead of fear. You're never going to come from love when you're in a state of fear, because you can't. You know, it might feel like love, but it's often going to be, if you're riddled with fear, and you're in fear, and you're in fight and flight, everything you do is going to have a motive behind it, that is to try and get love rather than you giving love, because you don't feel as though you have it to give, because you're stuck in fear. So you might be kind to people, but then at the same time, the energy behind that is, if I'm kind to people, they might give me love, and then I can stop being scared, etc. But if you have a belief that you have, that there's a divine energy somewhere, in one way, a spirit guide or something, that has got your back and is taking care of you, and you relinquish that fear, then you can show up and be a source of love for yourself and other people, for your children, for, you know, your parents and your family and friends. And the other thing is, it's easy to do the inner work. Well, simple. Alright, so it's got has its challenges as you go through certain experiences where you purge out the low vibrations, um, but then when you do so, it's short lived, and then you let it go, and it's like that. Oh, thank God for that. And then you lay down and you cry and you laugh, and you're like, oh my God, I never, ever, ever have to suffer with that ever again as long as I live, because it's gone forever. Oh, thank God for that. And it's gone forever. It's gone forever. With every fibre of your being and beyond, it's gone because you've released it. Only the people that have done this know what I'm talking about right now, but it is so beautiful. It's worth having the trauma for that moment that you let it go, and you see, and all these gifts come flooding in from every direction. You're like, wow, I feel blessed. I feel so blessed. Why wouldn't you put yourself first in your health? When I say self, that doesn't mean being selfish, because in being selfish, you get to be there for others. You can't necessarily give away what you don't have. You can't make everybody happy when you're in fear. You can't give love. You can only try to get it, and it'll masquerade as love, but it's not. It's kind of attachment, neediness, desperation, which can be quite repellent as well, and it can drive people away from you when you're coming from that energy. That's why to do the inner work, to change the way that you experience the world, because it's all you're ever going to know. And when you change your experience of it, you can show up as your best self. And what's your best self? That's something to decide, isn't it? Is it the most successful? Is it the most loving? Is it the most calm? Is it the most inspiring? In fact, right now, I'm going to give you a little exercise to do, and this is a good time to do it actually, because of the trauma in the world. It should be quite prevalent and at the front of your awareness. And I would love for you to do this, and pause this video as you do it, rather than watch the whole thing and then do it. To do it in order and then wait for the revelation at the end. I'd encourage you to do that for your own benefit. So first of all, I want you to think of the person that you love the most. It might be partner, child, parent, friend, whatever that is for you. Really get that person into your mind. Put your hands on your heart. Maybe close your eyes and bring them in. And if you're watching this on a laptop or a phone, you have the ability to write down, to make some notes right now, right? You can write it in the notes of your phone, or you can, pull up a Microsoft Word or whatever it is you've got on your computer to make these notes, or some sort of online note-taking system, or a pad and a pen. Get that person in your mind. Remember how much you love them in this moment. Remember how much you love them. And then, when you're ready, if you've not done that yet and I'm ahead of you, pause it and get that feeling going, and then just start again. Just carry on playing. And then when you're ready, I want to write down a good solid list of 15 or 20 things that you really, really want for that person. The things that you really want for them, and go deep. The reason I say do it a decent long list, like 15 or 20, is because the first few might be kind of, they're off the top. But then as you kind of run out of obvious ideas, you start to really dig deep, and that's when you get the things that really matter to you. The deeper things that you really want for that person. The thing that that would benefit that person the most. And you look at it, you look deeper, you look beyond the obvious. And that's when you get the good stuff. I want you to make a list of the things that you really want for that person. And a few examples might be, comfort, stability, support, Try and avoid happiness because it's too general. Like, what type of happiness, you know? Do you want them to feel loved? Do you want them to have the ability to love more? Do you want them to be able to see the beauty in themselves that you see in them that they clearly don't see? Do you want them to have more confidence, you know, like real, to have to see the good in themselves enough to be able to show up and show other people that? What do you really want for them? Like, dig deep. Dig as deep as you can. This is a really, really powerful exercise, and it's beautiful. And it just shows you, you know, what you're really made of, and get that list out. Shows you what your awareness is, and how compassionate you are. So dig deep, and I'll just, if you just pause now. And now I'm going to assume that you've done that, and I hope you have. And if you haven't, maybe pause it and go back and do it, you know. It's a beautiful exercise. And then look at that list. Look at the ones that touch you the most, and you might have already figured this out, or you might not. But really, what you're looking at there is a list of what you want for yourself, your true priorities, the things that you really want, that matter the most, the things that are really deeply matter to you, for you. And the lesson in that part of this exercise is that whatever you want for or from anyone else is something you really want for or from yourself. If you want somebody to love you, you really want yourself to love you. If you want somebody to support you, you're really looking for you to be your own support system. You know, it doesn't mean you can't, you know, want to have love and support from other people as well. It's just that that also you want to be able to give it to yourself from when other people are not present. You know, why wouldn't you? That's what the inner work gets for you. So look at that list now. There is nothing that's on that list that doing this inner work that I'm promoting here and that I'm talking about and trying to spread as far and wide as I can, doing my best to spread as far and wide as I can. There is nothing on that list that you can't get for yourself by doing the work. There is nothing on that list that you cannot get for yourself. Really let that sink in. You can have it all. When you give yourself the things on that list, all the details of life take care of themselves in ways that you can't imagine. So when you talk about manifestation and people are trying to manifest their future, bear in mind that when you're doing that, you are manifesting the future from your very limited perspective now. And if you get what you want, you might be missing out on something way bigger that you didn't know existed. Whereas if you just give yourself these things, these attributes of life, through doing the inner work. So if you want support, that is an emotional thing you can give yourself. You need nothing to do it. You can be there for yourself 100% of the time. You know, that sort of thing. Love, you can be there. Appreciation and respect, you can give yourself. You don't need it from anywhere else. Once you've ticked all these boxes, you're good. Everything else will take care of itself. And what you thought you wanted, which might have been a big house and a big car, once you've given yourself these, the idea of that might be completely alien to you, and you realise that what you really wanted was your divine partner, your one true love, or something like that. And as a result of giving yourself that, you will find that. It will find its way into your life. You'll have very, very, very healthy relationships when you do this inner work. Very healthy relationships, you know, because you've got your shit dealt with. You're not projecting it onto the other person. In fact, I'm going to do a talk on relationships and what I've learned so far and what's been really valuable and crucial so far. But your relationships, honestly, with your friends and your partners and you know, your family, and it's going to be so much more healthy. You're going to see more truth. You're going to be able to bring compassion to their projections, when they're projecting their stuff onto you and they're lashing out, you're going to realize, it's not me they're talking about, it's themselves. It's them who have this thing that they have this distorted view that they're putting onto me, and they're shouting at themselves. And then you'd think, and if I bring love to them now, they'll realize that the thing in themselves that they're rejecting and shouting at isn't true, and they'll be able to bring a bit more love to themselves, which in turn will allow them to bring more love to everybody else, because they'll stop projecting it out. I hope I haven't made that too complex, but it's about, bringing love to the situation. When you do the healing, you do the work inside you, and you know where to give your attention to, that will solve everything else. Okay. And I want you to look at that list again and actually look at it and go, do you know what? Even though that is what I want for me, yes, that is what I want for the person I love the most as well. And that makes you a nice person, right? The things that are really, really deeply matter to you more than anything you want for somebody else. And I want to extend this again. Look at that list and now ask yourself, do you not want everything on that list for every single person in the world? Imagine if all the people who were you considered bad people all had everything on that list. They'd be good people, right? They'd be good, loving, happy, kind people, because they'd have all the stuff on that list. Imagine a world now full of people who had everything on your list, and ask yourself if you would like everybody to have everything on that list. Sit with it, and then realize what a beautiful, beautiful human being that makes you. Look at that list and say, that is what I want for everybody. To reach into the depths of your soul and pull out everything that you believe is the most crucial, most beautiful aspects of life, and you want it for everybody. What is there not to love about you when that is what you're really made of? What is there not to love about you when that is what you're truly made of? Underneath all the traumas and the programs, right? That's what you're really made of. That's who you are. And the more you do the inner work, the more of that is going to come to the front. That's who you will see every minute of every day. You'll start to see more and more and more of that. You'll act in accordance with that version of you, that true version of you. Yeah, your head and your heart and your gut will start to come into alignment, and they'll all point towards you expressing that version of you. You contributing to bring that version of you to the world, to give everybody in the world everything that's on that list that you've made. How beautiful is that? That is the power of doing inner work, of taking this journey, and it starts with a decision. It starts with a decision. That's what I want. You go, that is who I am. That is who I choose to be. That is what I choose to express in this life. If you could be remembered for being the person who had all that love for everybody, and to express that openly and to gift that to the world, what a beautiful way to be remembered. What a beautiful contribution to the planet that we live on, and humanity, and for your family to be proud of, to be a role model to the younger generation, for people to learn from, On that beautiful note, I want to leave you to reflect on that without putting more stuff in there. But please do sit with it and really tap into and recognize who you are at that deep level. How compassionate and loving you really are when you let go of, the surface stuff. So much love, so much gratitude as always. Thank you. Look after yourself. Take care of your friends and family. Check in with people. Start now to express that version of yourself, and explore the practices. Keep watching these videos as I share more things that are going to allow you to start tapping into that perspectives and practices. Thank you.